Hey guys, it's the first Mountain Monday of 2016, so you know what to do. Breathe in and out, and breathe in and out. And of course, I'm not going to leave just a 2016 graphic on. I'm going to give you a mountain. So there we go. I picked sort of a lonely mountaintop because it sort of reflects my mood right now. I was hoping to get a bit of a break over the holidays and, sort of refresh, recharge, come back in 2016 raring to go. That didn't happen for a number of reasons. One of which was I forgot that when it's a holiday, people have very little to do, and especially angry people have very little to do. So they spend a lot of time on social networks kicking at what they see are easy targets. And YouTubers are the easiest of easy targets in the minds of these people because of the fact that we're supposed to be able to take it. We're supposed to be able to, air quotes, handle criticism, air quotes. And this has become such a mantra on the internet that it's not about fair criticism. It's not about moderate criticism. It's not even about deserved criticism. And fair and deserved are different things to me because, somebody can be really, really angry at you. And is that fair-minded? Not necessarily. But sometimes if you're deliberately trying to provoke because part of the unpleasant tightrope of YouTube is you have to have titles provocative enough for people to want to watch them. And I don't know of very many YouTubers personally who like those provocative titles. I don't call them clickbait because they actually are representative of what the video is about. But nobody really likes the sensational titles. But you need to do them because you need to attract new people to your channel because of that natural sort of decay, the half-life of a YouTube viewer. For those of you who don't know, people can be really, really intensely interested in your YouTube channel, and naturally that interest wanes over time. And so you have to keep replenishing viewers. So you do things with some provocative titles in the hopes that it will get picked up via search and you'll gain some new eyeballs. And so that's when I say deserved criticism. If I do something deliberately provocative to gain some viewers, I know the criticisms aren't necessarily going to be fair. I'm just doing what I have to do to build my channel. But I know they're coming, and so it's like, yeah, I deserve a little bit of a smack when I'm being deliberately provocative. I guess you can say that's the same as fair. I see it as a little bit different. Fair-minded criticism is more, have you considered, or the comments on the audio stuff that I get. Not that I can do much about that, but it is an issue and I am working on it. It's just unfortunately, for those of you who don't know the issue, the problem is with the capture software, not my microphone. The microphone works perfectly fine in other applications. It's just this video capture software. And I have tried OBS, I have tried other things, but they don't work on my system for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I'm stuck for the time being with the Elgato game capture software. For whatever reason, it has periodic audio dropouts, and there is absolutely zero troubleshooting that I can find in Elgato's website to explain to me why the audio intermittently drops out. So that is what I am struggling with for the foreseeable future. It's better on my desktop PC that I record from now. The little blips are shorter, which indicates to me it's probably a cache issue. But on my laptop, it was they were a lot longer gaps and a lot more intrusive. So it is getting better, but I understand that it's still frustrating. So for those of you who have stuck it out despite the audio problems, I appreciate it. I want you to know that I am working on it. But of course, that wasn't the nature of the haters that I was getting. And it started, well, it started before the holidays. It started after a video that I had to disable comments on because they were just of a personal nature against the guest. And I pride myself on having respectful civil dialogue when I do interviews, and that includes the comments. I gave viewers a lot of praise in the past for, civil comments, decent stuff, decent feedback. And those of you who are still here, it wasn't you that caused the problem. I know that because when I disabled comments, a bunch of people left, and it doesn't take a genius to put two and two together there. So, don't feel chastised, people who are listening now. It wasn't you. But the reality is, because of the nature of the niche I inhabit when it comes to video game thought, I draw fire from both sides. And that's something I just have to deal with because it's not in me to suddenly change and tell you guys anything but my legitimate opinion on something. I'm not going to start pandering to a side in the culture war because I think that's short-term games. A lot of people who are doing exceptionally well in the short term on YouTube, I think once this culture war bubble pops, as it does, I don't think there's going to be the same demand for this culture warrior crap. And I would rather deal with a smaller audience that was actually interested in exploring some of these ideas with me and actually having not even a civil conversation, a productive conversation, because a conversation can be civil as anything and not productive. I want to have productive conversations. I want to have productive dialogues. And productive dialogues involve talking to people with ideas that are different from my own. Now, sometimes that'll be a little bit different. In other cases, they'll be a lot different. And I would rather stop and have a dialogue with a person who doesn't see things the same way as I am and have a back and forth and come to a consensus. That's the beauty of the long form interviews that I do, that ideas can develop and take shape over the course of the interview. And some of those ideas from some of the guests that we have are going to be contentious. And I expect that a guest can come here and speak their minds and be honest. Because if I think someone is just patently dishonest, if I think they're just a provocateur, if I think they're not speaking in good faith, I'm not going to book them. Okay? So the people that come on, I think that whatever they believe is something they legitimately believe. And I never book a guest who I think is going to come on and deliberately upset people. Now, I am going to book guests with ideas different from my own. And that's going to be a combination of people more right-wing than me and people more left-wing than me. And that's because I'm pretty centrist, leaning left, but more and more I don't see any place for me in the organized left any more than I see myself in the place for the organized right, because both, I think, have fallen into doctrine and both are susceptible to this sort of hive mind, this echo chamber phenomenon. And I think it's always critically important to go, hey, wait a minute. Let's not take this as an assumption. Let's not take this on faith. Let's actually drill down and look at this and see if our assumptions are actually right here. And that's not going to change. That's just the way I view the world. That's just the way I approach situations. I always, everybody has that first gut reaction to something. It's unavoidable. It's just human nature that we're going to feel something from the gut faster than our brains can catch up. That's documented science. I didn't make that up. That came from a book called The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt. You may recognize the name. Jonathan Haidt is somebody who also co-authored an article about college campus culture and the increasing lack of accountability on them. And so that's just me. And that's what I bring to the table. And if there's any such thing as a radical moderate, I am that. I will go to the mat for my right to take a nuanced approach to something. Now, so far, there hasn't been a lot of money in that. And that's something that I'm going to have to address in 2016. I'm either going to have to radically scale back this YouTube channel or figure out a way to better monetize it, because the amount of work that is put into this content, and it's not even where I want to be, is the frustrating thing. I would prefer to put more production values into my YouTube content. However, there's only so much time basically that comes in that I can afford to put in. And that's just business. That's just dollars and cents, and that's just practical realities and not burning myself out. But where do the haters come into this? Well, because of a personal disagreement with another person on Twitter, and I was not aware that it was a personal disagreement at the time. I thought it was a philosophical one. This other person took it very personally. And for one reason or another, all of a sudden, I had a bunch of people attacking my professional reputation, attacking the fact that I fundraise on Patreon. And let me tell you, that's a sore point. I will completely admit that that is something I really wish I didn't have to do. Even though I'm Jewish, I kind of have that Protestant work ethic, and I believe in a fair day's pay and a fair day's work. And I know that's a pipe dream in the modern economy, but at my core, I'd just like to be able to do good work and earn a living wage in one place. Now, that's not the reality for so many people trying to make a go of it now. And so Patreon is a necessary top up because I just don't make enough money in any single one place right now. And anybody that does ads on YouTube knows that, YouTube monetization sucks. Like, even for the big guys, there's increasing complaints that the monetization model on YouTube just stinks. And so, Patreon is something that allows me to have a reliable amount of money, even though it's not much, every month. So they went after that as some sort of negative. I don't know why. It's an easy thing to kick at. And of course, they hit me with some genitalia related insults. And they kept going even though I had muted them, and more and more people got pulled into the whole thing. It's the typical internet crap, right? And even when you're taking it as like minimally personally as you can. And I know people are going to go, "Oh, you're feeding the trolls, telling you that the Patreon thing bothers you." Well, obviously it doesn't bother me that much because I'm still here and I'm still doing it and I didn't have a meltdown. But it is one of those things that bothers me. And if trolls decide to, and they get really mad when you call them trolls. Holy cow. I had no idea how angry people get when you say they're trolling, when every bit of their behavior points to trolls. I mean, when you're calling me a genitalia related insult for any reason on the internet, I'm going to assume you're a troll. I mean, that's just not how grown-ups and even teenagers nowadays, even little kids, there's no age group of the population that believes that's acceptable behavior. You're trolling. Okay? And so, but people get really upset. And so that's why I'm going with haters, to have a modicum of respect even for people that didn't treat me with any. That's just me. But it does make you tired to go on Twitter because I don't block. Except in like really extreme cases when people are subtweeting me and using, the fact that I try to keep channels as open as possible, in an unhealthy way. I block only in the most extreme of circumstances. But even with the muting, it was like I was seeing this echo of people engaging these people that were getting very mad at me because I called them trolls. But this went on. It was going on Christmas Eve. It was going on New Year's Eve. Every time I checked Twitter over what was supposed to be a holiday period, there was somebody saying something nasty. And do I take it personally? Not really. I'm not a person to these people. I'm a symbol of, in some cases, everything that's wrong with the world, or at least everything that's wrong with video games. I was accused of rebuffing criticism, which is basically people were responding to the fact that I wasn't nice enough for their liking in my responses to their... I didn't see these particular issues as criticisms, I saw them as attacks. They were too personal. They didn't focus on the idea. They generalized. They were saying I said things I didn't say. And I'm not going to engage and tell somebody they're right when they're not, right? So saying I didn't say that was considered rebuffing to some people. Or responding with sort of a joking, yep, you're entitled to an opinion even if you're wrong sort of thing. Just stuff that I see as everyday give and take kibitzing is seen as a grave insult to some people on the internet. And I can't possibly know that. So people walk away thinking I can't handle criticism, even though what in fact I was actually doing was just going, that's your opinion. I'm not... Like, what am I supposed to do? Apologize? Am I supposed to be, oh, I'm so sorry you misunderstood me? That seems to be what people want. And that's very strange. Because even a low-rated video on this channel gets about 1,000 views. And there's no way that you can possibly account for 1,000 different perspectives on a single topic. And everybody brings their own window to a conversation. So you can say something and 20 different people will interpret that 15 different ways. There's absolutely nothing you can do about that. And so when people tell me I had a specific intent, I don't take that very seriously because I know what my intent was and it wasn't what they were saying. And if they don't drop it after I say intent, well, what can I do? Well, there's nothing I can do at that point. And if somebody says you should have been clearer, well, hindsight's 20/20, and there's two parts to a conversation, the speaker and the listener. And when someone is telling me I said things that they like to take a single line out of greater context, and a thing that seemed to really upset people is the thought experiment I did the second last video of 2015 where I was talking about doublethink in my own head. And they were saying I was saying as a certainty things I was saying only as a potential variable. And one of the things people got really upset is my idea that gaming is not a community that outright rejects people, but the idea that we don't exactly welcome people in with open arms either. I was referring to the get good philosophy that a lot of gamers have. That idea that you have to earn people's respect. You're not just going to be, in most communities, you're not just going to be, hey, everybody's equal. Everybody has equal status. That's not how gaming communities work. If you have skills, people respond to those skills. If you don't have skills, practice until you get those skills. That's what I was referring to, that we're not, one of those, let's everybody come in and sing songs and use coloring books and sing Kumbaya kind of hug boxes. We're not that sort of community. And so I was trying to recognize for myself that this reputation that gaming has as being unwelcoming there's something to it, even though that's not what's at the bottom of it. And that's what I was trying to say. And I was trying to be self-aware as a gamer myself, because I think it's really important to check in with the less hospitable part of an identity that you connect to. And I do the exact same thing with feminism as well. Feminism has a radical fringe. I've never denied that. They give a lot of people some very bad experiences with feminism. And one of the things that I'm working on for the near future is a brief history of feminism, using some gamer terminology to make it easier for my audience to sort of understand it. But I want to do this because I want to show people the other facets of feminism and where some of this stuff came from, and how much disagreement and dissent actually exists within the movement. And I think that's important for people to see, because people aren't seeing it. They're seeing one very loud facet of a gigantic movement, the vast majority of which takes place in the real world, in communities, you know, teaching teen mothers how to handle money, and teaching Middle Eastern schoolgirls how to read, and just basic things in the office. And it's not about blaming men for all the ills of the world. It's just about questioning our own assumptions of what it is to be a woman. Like, why are we expected to be nice? Why are we expected to de-escalate conflict? Why are we the natural de-escalators? It's a big question, isn't it? But it's something that we just assume that, yeah, you're supposed to be nice and share, and boys are allowed to run around and yell and hit things, and boys are more naturally rambunctious. Well, what if you're a girl who isn't? You know, this idea that gender identity is so rigid is crazy to me, and it's not intuitive, and it is roles as opposed to who a person naturally is. And I personally think that the indicators of man and woman should be nothing more than biology. It should just be, you know, and I know some people are going to disagree with this. Hear me out, because I'm not being transphobic here, but I don't think that the gender role of man or gender role of woman needs to be as rigid as it once was. And I think that we need to broaden the definitions of what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman. And men, I don't think, should be expected to throw themselves on grenades, you know, to save the women and children. Children, yeah. Women, depends on the circumstance, but the same thing, you know, depending on the circumstance, I don't think that women are the natural victims we're portrayed as either. And this is why I look at gender. This is why I'm interested in it, because it affects everyone. And, you know, I'm tired of being a girl gamer. I just want to be a gamer. I'm tired of that. You're female, so you fit in this box, being expected to matter so much. And I know there are a lot of other people that feel the same way, and that's why I'm here. But we really need to take the dialogue back from the radicals. We need to stop making it seem like this big scary thing, and create environments where people can talk freely, especially people who disagree. And so I'm going to be doing some stuff in the coming weeks about what that means, and some of the ways I'm going to be tailoring my approaches to subjects in a different way in 2016, because there's no point in things just being a playground for comment trolls, and there's no point in me just getting worn down attempting to talk to people who just have a negative opinion of me no matter what they do. And they're just trying to draw out tweets from me that they can twist and use out of context to quote unquote prove that I'm this terrible human being and a fake. Nothing productive comes from that. And so, as exhausting a non-winter break period as it's been a learning experience. And I just sort of have to get my energy levels back from just being drained for weeks and weeks and weeks by pettiness, because nothing drains me more than pettiness. I've worked very hard to minimize that in myself. And so when other people attempt to sort of drag me down to that level. It's exhausting to stay above it, and no one is 100% successful in that regard. When 5 or 6 people are all coming at you at once, and they're all calling you nasty names, and they're all saying things you didn't say, and they're all putting words in your mouth, it's human nature to just make this glib response to shut everybody up, to sort of alpha dog the situation. And I'm really tired of being vilified for that, but it's not going to stop anytime soon. So I appreciate the people who watch this channel in good faith. I appreciate the people who engage and at least attempt to absorb the concepts that I'm talking about here. And I appreciate the people that don't expect me to be perfect. They just expect me to be good and to mean well and to do my best. Because no one who deals with thought has a perfect track record. We're all wrong at times. We're all, we all only see one piece at any given time. And, sometimes it's not a question of being wrong. Sometimes it's just a question of there is no right answer. And those are the dialogues I want to have. I want to get 6 right answers in a room, put them all together, and see what sort of Voltron of right answers we can construct through everybody's little bitty piece of the puzzle. But that's going to be hard. And that's going to take work, and that's going to take a lot of energy, and so it's going to have to go in waves, because people can't be in a war all the time. Everybody needs a break. And so that's sort of where I'm at for 2016. That's sort of my meditation for the day. And I guess I'm talking about this because I know there are other people that, want to write their own things or record their own things or do YouTube on their own things. And I know a lot of people are scared because of the noise. And so I try to talk about my own experience so people have a roadmap, because I think it's really important for people to know it's okay to have low moments. It's okay to be down. Everybody does it. I don't feel the need to hide them, because I think it's important for other people to see them, to know what happens to everybody. Anybody that seems to not be bothered by anything is putting up a false front. Everybody has things that bother them. And I want people to know that you can go out there and you can tell your own story, or you can collect the stories of others through documentaries and interviews. And sometimes you're going to feel really lousy, and some people are going to get you really wrong. And you're going to have bad days where you just want to quit. We all do. And I want people to understand that those aren't failures. They're natural parts of the process. And to not beat yourselves up because you have those moments where you just want to chuck it all. It happens to everyone, because people are cruel. And there's no good reason for people being cruel. It never solved a single problem facing the human race to be cruel. But people do it anyway because it's easy. And it temporarily makes them feel powerful. And when you're not someone who subscribes to that sort of, I'm going to kick somebody to temporarily feel powerful and show my might, you're a target for some of that. You are, because they think you're not going to fight back. And then when you do, when you show your teeth, they get very taken aback and don't know how to handle it. And that's going to happen. But I think it's important for everybody to just be as authentic and authentically flawed as we can be, and let our audiences know who we are, and acknowledge we're not perfect, but pointing out we're not perfect doesn't really do a lot of good, because no one can be perfect. And there's certain things about ourselves that we can improve and we want to improve. And there's other parts of ourselves that other people may not like, but we very much like. And I mean, a lot of people don't like that I'm a gamer and I self-identify as a gamer. A lot of people would like to see the end of the gamer identity because it's inconvenient to their worldview, but I'm not willing to give that up. And I'm not willing to give that up because gaming's gotten me through some rough moments, and I think it has a lot to offer the world, and I'm willing to stand up and be counted as a gamer because it's not the stereotype, just because I'm not male, and I think that's stupid. My hope for gaming and the gamer identity is that we stop using the term girl gamer. That a person who is a gamer is just somebody who's enthusiastic about games and plays a lot of games, and it's their primary form of entertainment. Similarly, I'm not going to stop identifying as a feminist just because other people make it hard for me. The reality is that, the specific issues facing women are something that is a unique point of fascination for me. And that is no different than liking to cook or liking to dance or being, enjoying making music. It doesn't just go away because it's inconvenient, or it doesn't just go away because people think it's wrong. And people can bash the movement all they want. But, I had somebody hit me over the break with feminism destroyed families during the 1970s. Like that falsehood has been so thoroughly disproven again and again and again, but it still lurks in corners and comes at you in the weirdest places. And that hurt. To be told that, basically something you believe is destructive. And I get that from both sides, with being a gamer and being a feminist from different quarters. And I shook my head and went, why is this person talking to me about this? And I think they were looking for validation somehow, or I don't know. All I know is they were looking for something that I just couldn't give them because I'm not the right person to say good job on that, because I don't agree with the viewpoint. But I didn't really feel like when someone thinks your worldview is evil, there really is no point in defending your worldview. And this is, the reality of anybody who's at all religious nowadays too. I mean, man, it's a tough time to be a person of faith. And I know that people in the atheist movement think they're biased against as well, and to an extent in some quarters they are. But the reality is, in a highly technical field like gaming, identifying as a religious person gets you sort of sneered at. And I personally think that any part of a person's identity is inherently good or evil. I think it's what you do with it. If it makes you a stronger, braver, more noble person, then it's good. If it makes you a coward who needs to fight in numbers, or who uses straw man arguments and easy logic fallacies to avoid having a salient point, well, then it's not good. And the elements of myself that are unpopular, I think, make me a better person. I know that I'm more giving, I'm more open-minded, I'm more slow to react on certain things because I have those pieces of my identity, so I don't intend to change them. And this leads to elements of my personality that are inconvenient for certain other people, but they come from a very good place, and I'm not willing to compromise on those points, because you hit a certain age and you start realizing who you are. And that's a very important thing to realize. Even the bad stuff, even the stuff you're not crazy proud of, it's important to know who you are. Because, if you identify your weaknesses, they don't control you the same way, right? The first step to improving something is to recognizing it's there, and not make it this catastrophic, earth-shattering thing you have to run from. Nobody's perfect. Who cares if you got some quirks, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do by not self-censoring all the time. By voicing views I know are going to be unpopular, but I think I can back up. By challenging some of the status quo on both ends of the political spectrum. That's what I'm trying to do. And so I thank you for those listening now, for making that journey with me, and to, continue to do that. Because I'm down but not out. I still have hope for what we're trying to do. It's just going to be a lot harder than I initially thought when I started down this road. So that's sort of I did my state of 2005. That's sort of my beginning state of 2016. A lot of work to do, but one day, 1 week at a time, right? So let's close off, breathe in and out. And breathe in. And out. And you may have heard Momo peeping in the background for the last 5 minutes of that.